There's a man standing in Aberdeen right now, telling a packed rally that Reform UK is going to run Scotland. Not just compete in Scotland. Not just win a few seats in Scotland. Run it. Govern it. Take outright control of Holyrood. And the entire Scottish political establishment is absolutely losing its mind about it. Welcome back to British Reform. Let's talk about the most ambitious political play north of the border in a generation. Nigel Farage addressed a rally in Aberdeen on Monday evening and set his sights squarely on becoming the second largest party in the May 7th Holyrood election. With total outright control of the Scottish Parliament, his stated aim for 2031. Let's take a moment to appreciate how seismic that sentence is. Holyrood has been the SNP's personal fiefdom for nearly 2 decades. Labour ruled Scotland for decades before that. And here's Nigel Farage, standing in Aberdeen, saying, "We're coming for it." Step 1, second place in May. Step 2, the keys to Bute House in 2031. It's audacious, it's ambitious, and it has sent the entire Scottish political class into full emergency meltdown. Farage said he believes that Malcolm Orford is prepared to give the courage and leadership to take reform through May 7th, establish the party at Holyrood, and then put it in a position where it wins outright power next time around. Outright power. Not a coalition. Not a confidence and supply arrangement. Outright. In Scotland. That's not just a political target. That is a declaration of war on the entire devolved political order as we know it, and it has absolutely made the right people furious. Because here's the thing about the reaction to this, it tells you everything. When you say something that actually threatens the existing order of power, the people who benefit from that order don't calmly explain why you're wrong. They reach for the word extremist within about 4 to 5 seconds. SNP leader and First Minister John Swinney wasted no time, describing Farage as a right-wing extremist whose views have no place in Scotland. Swinney then went on to claim reform would cut Scotland's budget, close the Parliament, and privatise the NHS. Now, there's a lot to unpack there, but notice what he didn't do. He didn't engage with the policy arguments. He didn't say, "Here's why Scottish voters are perfectly happy and won't vote reform." He just reached straight for the rhetorical blowtorch and hoped it would be enough. That's not the response of a politician who's confident. That's the response of a politician who's worried. And then there's Scottish Labour. Oh, Scottish Labour. The party that has gone from running the country to barely registering in the polls. And they have the absolute brass neck to lecture anyone about political failure. Scottish Labour Deputy Leader Jackie Baillie said Farage had let the cat out of the bag and described Reform's campaign as a circus built on division, setting Scot against Scot and community against community. A circus. That's rich, coming from a party whose own tent collapsed years ago. Scottish Labour haven't been a serious political force in Scotland since before most of their current members were on social media. Calling Reform a circus while watching from the political sidelines you've been occupying since 2015 is, frankly, the equivalent of the bloke who got fired telling everyone else how to do their job. But here's where it gets genuinely interesting, and this is the part that the Scottish establishment really doesn't want to talk about. Polling currently shows Reform is in a battle for second place with Labour ahead of the May 7th vote. Second place. In Scotland, where the party barely existed at a serious level 18 months ago. In a country where the political conversation has been entirely dominated by the independence debate for the best part of a decade. Reform has walked into that landscape, planted a flag, and is now fighting it out for second place. If that's what a circus looks like, book me a front row seat. And the immigration angle being raised at that Aberdeen rally deserves a proper hearing, because it's being dismissed too quickly. Lord Orford told the crowd he had been contacted by GPS from a regular Scottish town in the Central Belt, who reported being stretched as a result of people arriving and presenting with conditions including TB, hepatitis C, advanced pregnancy cases, and HIV. Now, the Scottish Parliament doesn't control immigration. That's reserved to Westminster. But housing policy is devolved, and Reform's argument is that Scottish housing allocation policies have directed disproportionate numbers of new arrivals northward. That's a substantive policy debate. You can agree or disagree with it. But dismissing it as extremism rather than engaging with the facts is exactly the kind of political cowardice that is driving ordinary people straight into the arms of parties willing to actually say the thing out loud. Now here's the bit that should really make you raise an eyebrow. The SNP has warned that Labour and the Lib Dems have indicated they would be willing to rely on reform votes after the election if it meant getting into power, and said that should show how far those parties have fallen from their founding principles. So on one hand, reform is apparently so dangerous and extreme that their very presence in Scottish politics is an affront to civilization. On the other hand, Labour and the Lib Dems are apparently happy to use reforms votes to get into government when it suits them. You can't have it both ways. Either Reform is a legitimate political party whose votes count in a democratic parliament, or it isn't. Pick one and be consistent. The establishment's inability to maintain a coherent position on this just underlines how rattled they actually are. The Scottish Conservatives, meanwhile, are doing their own bit of political gymnastics. They are accusing Farage of being relaxed about the SNP staying in power, pointing out that some Reform candidates are pro-independence and that Lord Orford hasn't ruled out another referendum. These are legitimate questions that Reform Scotland will need to answer clearly and quickly if they want to be taken seriously as a unionist force north of the border. But zoom out and look at the bigger picture. A party that had virtually no footprint in Scotland 2 years ago is now polling for second place, holding packed rallies in Aberdeen, and setting its sights on governing Holyrood by 2031. The SNP is rattled. Scottish Labour is flailing. And the political conversation in Scotland has been permanently changed by a party that the establishment has spent years insisting has no place there. If this is what a movement that supposedly has no place in Scotland looks like, imagine what 2031 is going to feel like. Stay locked into British Reform. Subscribe, hit the like button, and come back for every update as this extraordinary political story continues to unfold.